What is up, everybody? Patrick from HD RGB here, and today I'm here with a video. I thought I would make kind of a special video where I put myself on camera and I sort of go off rails, no script, no planning really. Just a fun video where I wanted to talk about some of my favorite RPGs for the PlayStation 1, and not just my favorite RPGs, but RPGs in general that I've played. Some of them I like more than others, with obvious reason, which I'll try to get into and try to explain to the best of my ability. So if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel. What I like to do here is talk about retro games, some of the games I like, specifically in the RPG field, and as well, what I've been sort of doing with the channel, what the channel is all about, is that we do weekly live streams. So if you look through some of my other videos, if it interests you, we do weekly Phantasy Star Online streams where I play Phantasy Star Online version 2 on the Sega Dreamcast in 2021. And I do that on a private server. So if that interests you, Thursdays at 9 p.m., consider subscribing to the channel to catch those. As for this video, this video is going to be all about PlayStation 1 RPGs. And I have a little bit I want to say, and it's sort of a supplement and a complement to the streams that I do. In addition to playing Dreamcast, I do like to play RPGs from that era, particularly on the PS1 and PSP. So some of the other streams that I did were on the Sony PSP. So please, if you can, give the video a thumbs up. Help us get through the YouTube algorithm. That helps out a lot. And also subscribing to the channel. Just make sure that you don't miss a video when I come up with it. So let's have a little bit of fun. We're going to run this video for maybe 10-20 minutes. I know there's a big disparity. That's double the length if it's 20, but that's okay. We're going to have some fun with this and go through it. So often if you watch me on my stream, if you have checked out my channel before, you'll notice that I got some games over here as well as some games over here. And in one of my last streams, what I did is I talked about some of the Neo Geo stuff I have here. So if any of this stuff captivates your interest, drop me a comment down below in the comments. Let me know you want to see one of the games. Either you want to see me talk about it on a video like this, or you want to see me stream it, and I will consider both options. So I figured I should make a dedicated video for this purpose. So anyways, enough of the bullshit. Let's get into it. So the first game I'm going to talk about here is from an RPG series that, I'll be honest, isn't my favorite. Okay, and that's not to shit on it. It's just that, as you play games, your taste will change from when you're an adolescent, to getting into teenage years, getting into adulthood, and things will change. So I'm going to talk about this one first, and that is coming from, I know, a very popular series, the Tales series, and this is Tales of Destiny. So very nice having the second camera here to be able to show the close-up of it. So this is my copy of Tales of Destiny, which was the first North American release of the Tales series. It wasn't the first game. That distinction belongs to Tales of Symphonia. So I know there's a lot of Tales fans here, so I'm not gonna shit on it too much. Not because I have anything against it. It's just I played so many of these, and I found that as the series went on, it was more about, melodrama and, we're best friends, we're gonna save the world. And I kind of found that my interest in storytelling kind of went beyond that, a little bit more mature. I like to see a little bit of how to say, maybe a little bit more, depth, maturity. I like things that talk about, religion and like Freudian nature, psychology, philosophy, and those kind of things. And it's not to say that Tales hasn't had that. It's just that I found that, I kind of found protagonists from more mature games to be more interesting. And I'll get into details as I go through the games. Remember, this is just game one, and I think I got a stack of, let's say, 7 or 8 games here. So what we'll do is we'll go through them. I will timestamp them below. So if you're interested in seeing one of those games, you can go below and timestamp it. But if you just you're seeing this for the first time and you don't want any spoilers, not spoilers in the game, but spoilers as to what I'm going to show here, then consider watching the full video. And again, thumbs up if you appreciate PS1 RPGs and the effort that I'm putting in here. But what I will say is I will say some positive things about Tales of Destiny. Now, I remember when this game first came out, and there was a big deal about it coming to North America, and I read about it in EGM2 magazines. I don't know if you guys remember EGM2, Electronic Gaming Monthly. They had two magazines, the EGM2 and Electronic Gaming Monthly. So I read about this a lot, and I was looking at it, and the first thing I thought to myself was, wow, this kind of looks like a Super Nintendo game. And not that it really mattered. I still would have played games, from the 2D era. I just, PlayStation was fairly new. This came out, and I believe it was 97, something like that. Yeah, 1997. So that's when we already got games like Final Fantasy VII, which kind of, set the benchmark. And spoiler alert, I won't talk about Final Fantasy VII in here, even though it is one of my favorite RPGs, but yeah, so when this game kind of came out, it was kind of like, what's going on here, guys? Like, why is it 2D? Like, it almost feels like this should have been a Super Nintendo release. And I don't remember if this is true or not. Maybe someone in the comments can let me know. I feel like this game was initially supposed to come out for the Super Famicom, but because the Super Famicom was on its way out, they just sort of moved development over. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but it really seems that way when you look at sort of the art style and things like that. But I do have a complete game here. So I got the manual, I got the little the Namco insert, which I think is pretty cool. Namco Presents, and then it sort of has a bunch of different games in there. And though it is a double jewel case, it's only a single disc, which actually I have this, I think, sitting in my PlayStation 3 right now. That's where I was playing it. So cool thing about PlayStation 1 games is you can play them on the original PS1, you can play them on the PS2, you can play them on the PS3, which is amazing. All versions of the PS3, so I usually do it like that just to be able to use the wireless controller, get HDMI, have it look as good as possible, and that's usually how it goes. But what I will say is, out of all the Tales games, I would say that this one probably ranks up there, even though at the time the reviews were kind of lackluster. People didn't really know what they were talking about, I would say. They were kind of judging it based on the 2D, sprites, but you're going to see some more 2D based games here, and I highly recommend those ones. So the graphics really didn't get me at all. It's kind of a weird story where the protagonist of the game finds a talking sword, and that becomes sort of like the story there, where you're constantly changing your weapon, which grants different special items, and it had the classic Tales fighting, which was very similar to Star Ocean, and yeah. Good game. So would I recommend this in today and beyond? I would say I'm not really sure. I guess it depends on how much time you have. I'm nowhere near this game, done this game, and it's still taking me quite some time to finish. But if you're a Tales fan and you haven't played it, and you have a means of getting a copy of this game or downloading it, I'd say check it out for yourself. I feel like they were this is more my style of game. Like, they were less on the melodrama and the best friend saving the world kind of thing, and that sort of happened later. But yeah, I played a lot of Tales games. I would say I really like this one, so I recommend it. All right, so that's the first one. Now, this is in no particular order, so you can rank them all you want, how you want, and let me know down below which PS1 games, I've been playing PSP lately, which PS1 games you like. Let me know in the comments below, and maybe you can rank them. But I don't want to rank them because I know people always have different ideas of, sort of what comes where, so we're just going to go straight into what it's all about. So another game that I recommend, and though I kind of stack these randomly, I would say I recommend this game more than Tales for my own personal, style of gameplay, and that would be Vandal Hearts. Vandal Hearts, which also had a sequel on the PS2, is a Konami game, PS1 as well. It's a Konami game. That's Vandal Hearts, which is a strategy RPG game. And I learned about strategy RPG games as a child much after my original console, which was a Sega Genesis, so I didn't get a chance to play the good ones there, but I played Final Fantasy Tactics, and that's where I sort of fell in love with the genre. So I would say Vandal Hearts is a very fun game. And this completely takes that maturity level to like a 10. And that's what I like. It's got a dark story, not so much what's going on itself, but it is a time of war. A lot of cool things going on about here. And just the sheer amount of death in the game is something that I really like. Konami really made really good games back then. So overall, I was very impressed with Vandal Hearts. And again, this is a game that when I dug out of my closet, I popped into my PS3, and that's sort of where my save file is. So uh, what I like about it is it's very challenging. You really have to plan your battles. You have to plan your party. You can't just go in, without getting decent amount of experience, because you're going to get, you might get through the first 5 battles, but then you go into a really long, deep one, and you just get slaughtered. So this isn't an incredibly long game, but it's incredibly challenging. So it does take time. And if strategy RPGs are your thing, and you might have missed out on Vandal Hearts, I highly recommend playing it. It's not a very pricey game. Not that I'm going to talk about price here. I feel like that sort of stuff gets lost in time. Everything goes up, shit happens. If you're into retro gaming, you sort of know the deal. But I would say Vandal Hearts, maybe it's available on the PlayStation Store. I'm not sure, but I would recommend it. Check that one out. One of my personal favorites on the PlayStation 1. Now, next. I think this is the only one in here that isn't considered a JRPG or a traditional RPG, but it is an action RPG, and I'm only adding in here because I spent countless hours playing it on the PC, though this is the PS1 version. And if that gives you any hints, here it is. Diablo 1. Diablo 1 for the PlayStation 1, which is a pretty rare game, I think, to pick up. It wasn't really that popular in terms of print numbers back in the day. It was a PC game. I put countless hours, and I have to put Diablo 1 as well as 2, not so much 3, but the first 2 games with the expansion packs up there in like my Mount Rushmore of gaming, simply because of the amount of time that I put into it. It was insane. I played every character class. There was the sorceress, the warrior, and then the Amazon. And actually, was it called the Amazon? Yeah, it was the Amazon. I was going to say Archer, but no, it's Amazon. So I played the heck out of it, and I really recommend Diablo. Now, if you're going to play it today, really, isometric action RPG, kind of difficult to recommend today. But if you have played it, you already know what to expect. And if you just want to sort of dig back into it and try it, I would say the PlayStation 1 version is definitely inferior to the PC port. But I just don't see anyone playing the PC version on today's computers. There's just maybe, I don't even know if that would, I know the resolution would be terrible, it wouldn't look that good. So I almost recommend the PS1 version today, simply just because, you pop it in your PS1 and you get what you get. So that is good. Now, what I will say, the differences between this and the PC version, there's a whole list of reasons why the PC version is better, but what this one has is couch co-op. So you can play 2 players, same screen, same controller, 2 controllers, same screen, couch co-op, and I think that is the major selling point of this game for the PS1 version. Now, I tried recently playing it, and the controls are pretty freaking clunky on the PS1 pad, considering I'm used to clicking it with the mouse. So yeah, again, kind of hard to recommend, but if you do have this game and you have a second person to play it with, why the heck not? I would definitely recommend that. I had to get up and shake the mouse a little bit, but so Diablo 1 recommended on the PS1 if you have a chance to get it, whether it's on the PlayStation Classic. I don't know, people like to load games on there, or emulation, whatever you do. I like original hardware. That's why I have the original game. And again, though I didn't put too much time into the PlayStation version, I do have it, and I am happy about having it. So now, I'm going to get into a few games that I really dug my my teeth into back in the day. So the next one, and the only Final Fantasy on this list, though I like them all, and this one isn't even my favorite, but I'm putting it in here just because I had it sitting wonderfully on my shelf, and I've been meaning to get back to a childhood save file on the original PS1, and that would be Final Fantasy VIII. 8. Now, why 8? Why not 7 or 9 or Tactics? Which, to be honest, I think I enjoyed all 3 of those games more than this, but not by much. What I really like about this game is just the feeling of travel and the feeling that you're on a mission to go out, and basically it was just one of those things. It's like so you start the game and you're in like this almost like a biosphere kind of thing, and if memory serves me correctly, let me know below. I think you're a part of like a military organization, and the details sort of like aren't fresh in my mind because it's been probably like 20 years since I played this. Now this is remastered on all the systems, so you can play that. But if we're just talking about the original vanilla, yeah, this would be it. And I just remember when this game came out, and it had a lot to prove, because Final Fantasy VII, the game that had come out before, with I think Tactics was in the middle. Fucking phenomenal game. My favorite tactics game, actually, strategy RPG, I should say. But yeah, Final Fantasy VIII was just one of those games I really like. Sort of the dichotomy between the antagonist and the protagonist, Squall and what's the guy's name? Cypher, I think it was, or Cipher. It was just, man, that dude was evil, but he didn't seem like he was too far out like Sephiroth, right? Sephiroth was like this, like, like almost like a superhero kind of evil, whereas this guy seemed more leveled and based down, and every time I encountered him, it was just marvelous. But one of the things I enjoy the most about this game, and the reason why I felt compelled to talk about it today, is because Final Fantasy VIII had the card battle system. The card game was phenomenal. I really enjoyed the card game. This is coming from a guy that played Magic the Gathering as a young kid and then going into high school. So anytime I got a chance to have like a mini game where you can collect cards and battle, and though simple, the execution was bang on. Really, really enjoyed it. So I spent a lot of time doing the card game. And honest truth is, I don't even believe I finished this game. I got to the 4th disc. I still have my childhood save file, so maybe at some point I will stream it over here on the channel. You can let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see that, me continue my save file. Otherwise, I'll just do it in my private time and have a lot of fun with that. But definitely Final Fantasy VIII is a game I would recommend. And I just love the Final Fantasy mini games. Between Final Fantasy X's Blitzball and Final Fantasy VIII's Materia card game, I don't really know which one I liked, but I can tell you that I really like them both. And one day when I talk about PS2 games, we'll get into that. Now, the next game here, and probably the most nostalgic out of every game I'm going to show you right here. This one caught me completely by surprise. It's part of a series. I had never played the games before it, so I really didn't know what to expect, but I knew one thing. Capcom. And when I thought of Capcom, I thought of fighting games, I thought of platform games, arcade games. I never thought of RPGs, but here it is in all of its glory, Breath of Fire 3. I had known this game was originally a series from Super Nintendo, that being Breath of Fire 1 and 2. So when 3 came out, I went to my local EB Games here in Canada, and I remember, I only had a little bit of cash. I was saving for like months to buy it, and I wanted to buy from EB Games. Probably because I didn't have a car, and it was hard to get my parents to take me to a game store. So EB Games used to have this thing where if you showed them like a flyer, like a physical flyer of a game at the same game at a cheaper price, they would match that price for you. And I don't think they do that anymore. But I remember they'd pick up the phone and they would like call and be like, hey, do you have the game for this price? And a lot of times they'd be like, yeah, we do. And other times they would know it's EB Games, so they would just hang up and they couldn't confirm. So it was always good just bringing in like a print. And we used to get magazines, like catalogs coming in all the time. So I was like, oh, $10 cheaper. So I just remember buying this game brand new, and I think it was probably like $49.99. It's weird to say that, isn't it? And man, this game, so like the minigame of Final Fantasy VIII, which is the Materia, the pull of the minigame here in this title was the fishing. And I was a real big fan of the fishing. I just thought it was so cool. I had never experienced an RPG like this because I was introduced to RPGs on the PS1. So mind you, this was like the first, second, possibly third RPG I had ever played in my life. I had no idea what the games were like before. I might have seen Dragon Warrior as a kid, but I was too young to really get into it. So Breath of Fire 3 introduced the fishing system. Didn't know you can do mini games like that. And I used to go fishing with my dad a lot, so I thought it was just really cool being able to do it in the game. And the second thing that it introduced was the camping system. And I never knew that you can like camp, talk to your party, and just have that opportunity there to sort of like recap the story, find out what you're supposed to do next. And the best thing about this game is, not to give any spoilers, I'm sure it's well documented if you haven't played this, is that the game has a transition between your adolescence and your adulthood. So you actually get two different character designs for your character and then the people meeting in your party. And that's as far as I'll say about that. But if I were to rank favorite RPGs of all time, I would probably put Breath of Fire 3 in my top 3, maybe at number 3. I don't know. It would be somewhere up there. Breath of Fire 3, highly recommended. There is a sequel, Breath of Fire 4, for the PlayStation. And I did play that one. I really liked it, but I prefer the graphics and the color of the first one versus sort of like the muddy, gray, you know, and more pixelized too graphics of the sequel. Though both are phenomenal games, and I can't recommend both of them enough. But if I were to choose one, it would be Breath of Fire 3. I'm still on my childhood save file, which I recently booted up as of a few weeks ago, and I'm actually, you know, getting through it. And I'm 60-something hours in from a game I started back in 1998. The one thing I'll say, though, is about it translating to today is I don't think the game does a really good job at respecting your time. And as a game from my childhood, I would have been totally cool with that. Because I had a lot of time, I had very little money, so you buy one game and like you'd read the back of the box and you wanted it to say 50-hour RPG because that's the kind of time you're willing to give it in the summer as a kid. Nowadays, it's kind of like, oh man, like, you know, you get stuck in a puzzle, or you get stuck in a dungeon, or the dungeon doesn't end, or it's so far from a save point. It's a hard sell. So I would say if you have the time, play this on the PS1 or on the PSP or anywhere else you can get it, but those were the two official ways it was released. And just know it's going to be a long, long grind. It's a very rewarding game, but you have to have the time. So I'm talking as an adult here, time related. Speaking of time, another game that I loved that came out from Squaresoft, and I'll just throw it out there right now, that was kind of, you know, maybe top game of all time for a lot of people, especially in the RPG genre. Anyways, I'm not gonna, you know, hold it too long, but that was Xenogears. And Xenogears is, man, like, kind of as I was talking about the maturity earlier, you know, if we compare maturity and we put these two side by side, or basically any Tales game and any Tales game of the series, and compare it to Xenogears, Xenogears is the mature game by far. And when I said about the kind of taste of games I like anime style, I like mechs, I like, you know, talking about religion and Freudian nature and war and like all the terrible things in life, because I feel like it really puts things into perspective. A game like Xenogears would be the one. So not that I'm picking these up in any order, but I definitely favor Xenogears over Tales of Destiny, you know, for the reasons I just mentioned. But definitely a good game. This was kind of an incomplete game. I think they ran out of time when they were making it, because Disc 4 is kind of like, what does it become, like a visual novel or something? Or I'm not really sorry, Disc 4, Disc 2. Man, I don't know why I thought it was 4 discs. Should have been. And I also heard that this game was originally supposed to be called Final Fantasy, but never ended up being so. So I'm not really too sure about that. Yeah, anyway, sorry, I had to get up. And anyways, the last video on this list, and I would say, along with Breath of Fire 3, this was probably like my favorite RPG ever at the time of playing it. And nowadays, I still think it's very good. One of the early RPGs released for the system. I was like a 1997, 1998 PlayStation guy. I loved it at the time, and that would be the original Wild Arms. Wild Arms. It's wild. It's got arms. It's made by Sony Computer Entertainment America. Again, I always thought of Sony as a publisher. Let me know in the comments below. I'm not going to look this up right now. I feel like they published and developed this game. Could be wrong. Maybe somebody else developed it. It only says Sony here. I don't really recall, but the whole Wild Wild West idea, and the fact that you can start off with three different characters, and you can choose which one you want to play, and then at one point in the story they all sort of intertwine early on, and those become your three characters for the game. I thought that was a really interesting idea. So definitely one of my favorite ones. And the music, I still remember the intro, like holy cow, like that was just a really good game. So anyways, those are my picks for PlayStation RPGs. It is not a comprehensive list. It is not the end-all be-all list, and it definitely isn't all my favorite games in one. As I said earlier in those, like a few of them I like way more than others, and there's still very, very many more. So I made this video to sort of share behind the scenes what I'm into, talk a little bit about it, and if you want to see future videos of more PS1 games, as well as any of the things you see on my shelf here, you can definitely let me know in the comments below, and I will try my best to make that video. And as well, please show up for Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. Phantasy Star Online. We will be playing that every single Thursday. We've been doing a week steady for months and months now. We're going to hit a year of doing it this year, so that's exciting. And I hope to hear more about RPGs from you guys and talk about them, so then I can do some more streams on it. So thank you very much. Hope to see you guys next time. Be well. See you later.